Hi, everyone, and welcome to EveryoneSocial's webinar, How to Build an Authentic and Approachable Personal Brand Online. I'm Elle Griffin. I'm the head of marketing for EveryoneSocial, and I'm so excited to present to you this amazing webinar. We have Lauren Friedman on the line. She's the social marketing strategist over at Adobe, and we have Chris Hecklinger on the EveryoneSocial side, who is our director of customer success. And we just wanted to jump on the phone with you guys, do this awesome webinar, because we originally did this great workshop, partnered with Adobe, to do this personal branding workshop and kind of show what's the value. And we thought, hey, why not do this as a webinar and share it with our whole community? So for those of you that don't know us, EveryoneSocial is a software company that provides employee advocacy and social selling software, essentially a program designed so that your employees can become your brand ambassadors and increase your reach both for marketing and sales initiatives. So really, really fun stuff. And one of the parts that's very essential to creating a program like this is having this personal brand, having these employees as part of your company that want to spread the word, that want to talk about your company and, things that are unique and personable to them. And so we thought we would have this webinar today so that you can kind of hear what's worked, what doesn't work. Here's some takeaways both from the Adobe side and the EveryoneSocial side on these, key tips on how to build a personal brand that kind of helps both you as a person as well as your company and helps your company grow. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Chris, and we will jump back on here at the end of the call. If any of you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in. There's a little question section of your GoToWebinar. Type them in there, and I will make sure to ask those questions of Chris and Lauren as we near the end. So thanks so much for joining. Chris, take it away.
All right, great, thank you. All right, so just to dive in here today, we're going to answer this first question here. So what exactly is a personal brand, and how can it help your career? So I'm sure we have a mix of folks in the audience today some folks are here really interested in how they can build their own individual personal brand. And then perhaps others who are running programs at your company and are trying to help your employees elevate their own personal brand. So we're going to share some ideas and thoughts and stories today that should kind of help address all those different scenarios. So the first challenge becomes, and kind of this first question here is, how do I represent myself in an authentic way online without seeming like I'm bragging or just creating noise or creating spam? So I'm sure we've all kind of thought of that question, because we want to promote ourselves, but we want to be careful in how we do it. So the answer to that is really, be true to yourself, be true to your personality. So personal branding really applies to everyone, those who are a little more introverted, those who are a little more extroverted, and really everyone in between can create their own online identities that are real, true reflections of themselves. So no matter what department you sit in, no matter what your job level is, if you're an intern to a CEO, everyone can benefit from creating their own brands. And the real idea here is to be true to yourself. All right, so let's define a personal brand. So what is it exactly? So I was reading somewhere around personal branding the other day, and it's really your first, these days more so than ever, it can really be your first impression or your first introduction, or as the first little foot icon here tells us, it's really your digital footprint. So oftentimes as you're researching people online, this is the first thing you come to, your LinkedIn profile or Twitter handle, a blog that highlights you. So first and foremost, your digital footprint. Now I'm going to work my way kind of down these columns here, so I'll stay in the first column. Your personal brand is also an online extension of your in-person identity. So again, going back to being authentic, it should be kind of a mix, and you'll see this as we move forward when we show you some examples of some people who are really doing it right. But it should be an accurate extension of yourself and not, creating this brand or this person that you really aren't. And then the last one there is, again, an authentic representation of you. No matter what your personality, skill set, job level, it needs to be real. That's really the message we're driving home here. Now, moving over to the second column there, your personal brand is something that strengthens your career over time, and it's kind of always evolving. And I think for those of you who are, there's probably a wide spectrum of folks on the line, of those who are, maybe more junior in your career or new, which is fine and great. to maybe those who are a little more advanced in their career. Your personal brand it's always kind of changing and evolving with you depending on which way your career goes, or you better yet, which way you want your career to go. You can start setting up your personal brand to help you get into new opportunities as we move into kind of the next bullet there. New opportunities that showcase your professional expertise. So your current professional expertise, as well as maybe some skill sets that you want to move into. So maybe you're in HR, but you kind of want to move over to more of a recruiting take. Or maybe you're in marketing, but you really want to start focusing in on SEO and SEM and whatnot. You can change your personal brand to help you achieve your career goals. And your personal brand, again, is a means to help you excel in your existing role. So this could mean becoming a thought leader or more of a thought leader in your space. So for example, me, I'm in client success. And so as I've shared a lot of client success content out to my networks, I've built really fantastic friendships and relationships with people in my space. So your personal brand is definitely a way for you to excel in your current role and make you better at what you currently do. All right, now on the flip side here, let's talk about what a personal brand isn't. And starting on the far left there, a personal brand should represent your best traits. You want to make yourself shine when we talk about your personal brand. So point number one here, personal brand definitely is not or should not create pressure for you to be in the limelight or build a big following. I know, even as I was relatively new to Twitter a few years ago, you start out with 0 followers, and then you get 1, and then a couple, and sometimes you may feel like your network isn't as big as the guy who you're following who has 10,000 followers. That's okay. We're all at different stages along the way. So never feel pressured to be something you're not and to have a following that isn't true to you. Point number 2 here, don't be an advertisement for your company. So while it's great for you to share content around your company, I'm sure you're excited to work there. You want to share job postings to bring some of your friends and family perhaps into the fold at your company. The last thing you want to do is share 100% of content and just represent yourself as someone who works for a company. We'll talk about your kind of LinkedIn profiles and some of your social media profiles moving forward, but this one's really important. Don't share too much for your company. Don't be an advertisement, or it will turn off your audience and your network. Point number 3 here is using your personal brand as an excuse to brag. So we've all seen those posts where it just comes off as bragging. That's not what you want to do. And it is a delicate balance around how many of your accomplishments maybe you should show out to your networks. I think it's okay to do that, but I think there's kind of a time and a place and a way to phrase it that makes it seem more like you're proud of this accomplishment, not necessarily bragging. So you have to kind of walk that fine line, and we'll show you some examples of that moving forward. And then, of course, lastly here, your personal brand is not an area for you to be disrespectful or airing your dirty laundry. Nobody wants to see that out as part of your digital footprint, so be aware of that. All right, so the next question it becomes, what can you achieve over time with a few minutes of investment each day? How can you build your personal brand a little bit each day? Here are some of the answers to that, and as well as some of the benefits that you and your company will see from building your own personal brand. So from a high-level view, establishing a quality personal brand will let you be seen. So your popularity online will offer visibility to other business leaders, both inside and outside of your organization. It's good to build your own internal brand as well as your external brand, perhaps as you look to grow your career. Personal brand allows you to be heard. So this typically is around your social media posts that you'll do out on Twitter or LinkedIn. As you're sharing content or thoughts around your opinions, it's a great way for you to get feedback from your peers around some perhaps best practices or some of their thoughts around certain topics that are trending in your space. And then, of course, it allows you to build new relationships. More and more people are building these relationships online, especially with Twitter. It's so easy to follow someone and to have them follow you back. And then as you start seeing each other share interesting content, it's easy to retweet them. And then, those kind of high-level engagements can turn more into direct messages or even meeting up at conferences or situations or events like that. Some other ideas and opportunities are on the far right here. So new opportunities. So as you build your brand and people start to see you as someone, a thought leader or whatever you want to call it, someone who's kind of in the know within your industry, you'll begin perhaps to be invited to speak at conferences or attend conferences or industry events. So just a quick kind of sharing of my own experience with this. So a few years ago, I've been in the CS space for probably 10 years, but I didn't really start focusing on my personal brand until a couple of years ago. And I've really started to connect with people on Twitter and try to share content around my space. And it's been really exciting because I've been able to make some really cool connections and have actually been invited to some very kind of smaller, not smaller is not the right word, but exclusive, I guess, conferences around my industry, and been able to kind of speak and kind of work with others and almost become kind of a thought leader within the space. So it's been really beneficial to me to really hone in and spend a few minutes a day on my own personal brand. Now, I share these things with you, not to brag, of course, going back to a couple of slides ago, just to show you kind of some real world examples of someone who wasn't super knowledgeable about personal brands to kind of where it's gotten me now. Moving down the list here, so knowledge shares, so of course, meeting people in your industry and learning from them is key. We'll show you how to do that momentarily here. And then also, a way to build followers. Now, I don't mean building, fake followers or just having a big number. Building a really high quality follower base that can be a nice natural extension of your network. All right, so in terms of success stories, so we have a couple different ones here because I know we have a kind of a mixture of folks on the line. So for folks who are helping their employees build their own personal brands, this first metric here, the 300 to 800%. So some of the clients that we work with, our enterprise B2B customers have seen growth ranging from 300 to 800% in organic brand reach. So this is basically tapping into your employees' networks out on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and some other social networks, being able to grow some really organic reach. So if I'm speaking to you, just know that's a fantastic number, and there's definitely some opportunities there. Kind of going along the same lines as employee advocacy for the second metric here. So this is an example of one of the clients we worked with. So their posts that went out through their employees to their employee networks performed 200% better than comparable posts on the company's corporate social media channels. So having the content go out through your employees to their networks performs twice as 200% better than posts out to your company provided or company controlled media channels. And then for those of you on the line who are just here to kind of learn more about how to build your own personal brand, this 750% is for you. So one enterprise leader that we work with achieved a 750% boost in total reach in just 60 days. So yeah, some fantastic ways to kind of grow your own brand and see some really cool numbers. So now let's kind of talk nitty-gritty here. So how do you do it? So first things first, well, let's talk about LinkedIn. So you want to complete your profile with your summary, your skills, your work history. Now LinkedIn is cool because they have a little kind of circle guy in the upper right that tells you, kind of grades your profile. So try to get kind of to those upper echelons. I think towards the top is an all-star or rock star. I can't remember exactly what they call it, but you'll see it when you're building out your profile. And when you create your LinkedIn profile, I think historically a lot of people have thought of their LinkedIn profile as a resume. Think of it more as a tool or a digital place for people to view you, and you want to make them want to connect with you and not just view your resume. It's about them seeing you and what you can offer them, and then perhaps connecting with them. So I'm seeing titles change more from director of sales to I'm a sales enabler. I help people find the right software solutions or whatever your space is. So try to treat it not just like a resume. Point number 2 there, joint groups. So again, just to open the kimono on myself here a little bit, prior to coming to EveryoneSocial a few years ago, I wasn't super active out on LinkedIn groups, but by engaging in those LinkedIn groups and sharing content to those groups, I've been able to be a part of some fantastic conversations and learned a ton about my particular department. That's really helped me in my day-to-day. And then point number 3 there is asking for recommendations. So this is always a good thing to do. Get some recommendations so as people come to your profile, they can see that others are recommending you, have enjoyed working with you, maybe highlight some of your skills. And then also on the flip side, make sure you're doing that for other folks as well and giving out recommendations. Now moving over to Twitter, you want to create a short bio, and we'll talk about a couple of these examples momentarily here. Step 2, choosing visuals that represent you. And step 3, selecting an energetic photo. I think those are all pretty self-explanatory, but we'll move into some examples in a minute here. So here are some examples by job function. So sales, for people who are on the line or listening, salespeople, it allows you, having a strong personal brand enables relationship building, a technique that we typically call social selling. It's kind of a buzzword out in the industry. Allows you to basically surround your prospects or your clients socially, as well as via email and phone and in-person visits. So it's just another kind of touch point. From a sales perspective, things you can do by building your personal brand and or having a strong personal brand is participate in industry discussions. It will allow you to connect with customers and prospects, especially now through social selling. We're seeing that so many people now are doing so much research online about products and software before they actually engage with a brand or send out an RFP. So it's really important for you to be out there socially, listening for certain conversations, listening for certain keywords, looking for people you can connect with, and kind of make those initial contacts. And then you begin kind of sharing content with that person, engaging with their content, and then that can lead into maybe a conversation around a particular solution you have. But it's all about connecting early, creating value early, and then having that kind of initial foot in the door to perhaps talk about your services. But don't lead with your services. That's kind of the wrong approach. Other things you can do are sharing updates that keep you visible and relevant in your circles. By doing these things, some things you'll achieve here in the right-hand column are you'll gain credibility and become a trusted resource in the industry. You'll build your relationships and grow your networks. And it will give you a direct lens into your customers and prospects communities. So if I sell big data services, then maybe I want to go and find some of these big data communities or LinkedIn groups and become a part of those so I can hear what the current trends, concerns, comments are around that particular topic. Now here's an example. This is Rob. He works with EveryoneSocial here, full transparency. And you can see some examples of his LinkedIn profile here, very well thought out summary, has some solid recommendations down at the bottom. You can see at the top there he has VP of Sales at EveryoneSocial, but then he also has what he can do for you. So as people are seeing his profile, they know right off the bat, okay, he's going to help my business become more social. Moving to the upper left there with Twitter, you can see he's got a nice little bio that shows some topics he's interested in, where he works, but then also, family guy, sports fan, and I will always do my own yard work. So it's important to kind of be real as well, because people want to know you and what you do for your career, but also they kind of want to know a little about you personally as well. A few other aspects that make this example really solid are the professional headshot, conversational summary, again, recommendations, and you can see in the bottom right here, Rob is sharing content that's relevant to his community. So talking and sharing content around brand advocacy and being social. All right, let's move down to folks who are in marketing. So things you can do. You can answer questions from your fellow marketers as part of being more social and building a personal brand. You can share content that you're creating. So a lot of marketing folks, especially content marketing folks, are already creating content, blogs, case studies. Be proud of that content. Share that content out to your networks. Connect with other marketers across all industries. So follow thought leaders out on Twitter and LinkedIn and try to connect with them. And of course, grow your visibility within your industry. Now, what you'll achieve by doing those things are again, kind of similar to what we talked about earlier, but you'll get invited to speak at marketing-specific conferences. You'll become a known, trusted resource in marketing, regardless of where you work geographically or at whatever brand you work at. And then perhaps you'll get cited in trade publications as well. Now here's an example. This is our friend Lauren, who you'll be hearing from in a few minutes here. So she is a in marketing, social marketing strategist here, and again, some really great things are happening here. So she has some nice endorsements. You can see here under skills and endorsements, a lot of different skills, a lot of different endorsements. Her headline is strong. So again, it's not just I am head of social business at Adobe as part of her title right under her name there at the top. It's leading social business enablement at Adobe, social marketing strategist, writer, leader. Much more broad than just head of social business at Adobe. She has a strong job summary, and then if we move into the content, actually that's on the next page here, which we'll talk about. But before we jump off that, the upper left here, her Twitter, again, you can see it's a nice mix of personal as well as professional. So lover of language, always opinionated, beauty savant, which I know because I've gone out to her blog and I know more than I'd ever want to know about some makeup things. But it's really fun to kind of see what else she's interested in. So yeah, she's Adobe full-time during the day, but at night and on the weekends, what makes her her? What makes her unique? So I think that's she has a really nice blend of content there in her Twitter bio. Now moving on down here, these are some of her. This is her personal blog on the far left here, which she links from in her Twitter profile. And then here's some tweets here on the right-hand side. So again, a nice mixture of content that she's interested in. So some restauranting here in the upper right. But then down below, you can see just a few days prior, talking about employee engagement, employees being trusted. So just a real strong mix of personal content as well as brand content and industry content. Okay, now our last example here are going to be employee experience experts, HR, if you will, and just some things that you can do from an HR perspective when you build your own personal brand or help your employees do the same are, showcasing employee stories, like what's cool about working at your company. And one example of that is down below here, so highlighting the Adobe Life brand. So that's an example of what Adobe does. And so if they've got folks who are off, mountain biking and they have their Adobe bike apparel on and they're off for a lunchtime ride, a lot of times I'll see in my own feeds hashtag Adobe Life. We love working here, so cool, we can go ride our bikes during lunch. And another example of what that hashtag does is it really helps the Adobe brand to humanize itself. So this is why you should come work at Adobe. We value you as employees. We let you do cool things. We let you work on cool projects. So those are just some examples of what you can do at your own brand if you're an HR expert. Now, by doing those types of things, what you'll achieve is you'll be able to source and retain top talent, which is probably your #1 goal in HR anyway. You'll be able to build a community of employees, call them advocates, call them whatever you want, but you're going to have this community of employees who just absolutely love working at your company and are willing to share content about your company and why they love working at your company. And then also you'll be able to better understand your candidates who are coming in the door as well by being more socially active and understanding kind of what's happening out in the HR space as you build yourself as an HR thought leader. And with HR here, we don't have an example for that one, so we'll just move right into the personal branding challenge #2. So Lauren, I will hand it over to you.
Sounds great. All right, so personal branding is something that I'm personally very passionate about, and there are a lot of challenges that are associated with building your personal brand and, of course, balancing your personal brand with your everyday responsibilities. It really takes a lot of time and thought in order to start structuring and thinking about your personal brand in a strategic way. So the answer there, and there are many answers, but the answer that I like the most is all about creating structure around your career and life. So thinking it through ahead of time. It might seem like a little bit of an upfront investment, thinking about who you are, what you want to talk about, why you're participating on social media, what you're good at, what you want to be known for, what you're trying to accomplish, and then really building out that structure up front, and then it can really be smooth sailing, thereafter. Personal brands take many shapes and forms, and one of the things that I really like to talk about when it comes to managing your personal brand is that it's all about being consistent, focusing on your strengths, understanding what you're good at, what your superpower is. I always like to ask that question in any of my personal branding trainings, all about what your superpower is. What do people always go to you for and ask for your help with? And think about how you want to integrate that into your personal brand and what you want to be known for. And then, of course, being consistent, building that into your daily routine. So how do you build a personal brand with a few minutes of investment each day, a little bit of upfront work, thinking about your strategy, much like you would think about a social marketing strategy if you were a brand? When you're building your personal brand, you are a brand. So thinking about your strategy, step one is all about establishing your content pillars. So I have 4 content pillars, and these are the pieces of content or types of content, themes, if you will. Chris, you're going too fast here. There we go. Thank you. So things that you want to really focus on. And I have 4 content pillars personally. I focus on digital marketing. That's one of my content pillars because it's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that I'm interested in. And I kind of couple that with the digital marketing and technology. So in that content pillar, I try to think about the types of content that I want to share around Adobe news. So what Adobe's doing in the space, what cool things we are doing, any new things in the industry, any tech that I use and that I work with, any third-party thought leadership articles on digital marketing, any other brands that are doing marketing well. My second content pillar is all about productivity. So for those of you who know me, and Chris definitely knows me, I'm a little bit of a type A, hyper-organized, trying to get stuff done kind of a gal. So that's something that I want to be known for. So the types of content that kind of fit in that productivity pillar are all around time-saving tips, organization, life hacks, technology or apps that help you get stuff done. And then I have a content pillar that's kind of focused on my self-promotion. So as Chris mentioned, I have a personal blog where I talk about food and beauty and travel and things that I'm personally interested in. So I'll always promote, when I write a new blog post, any third-party articles that are written. I am a contributor for Forbes. I write for iMedia Connection. And those are some opportunities for self-promotion. Anytime we speak at conferences or on webinars like this one, that can be a good content pillar for you to focus on. And then any personal interests. So again, as Chris mentioned, I'm super into beauty. I'm Sephora's probably #1 fangirl. Fashion, San Francisco, food, cooking, photography. Want to make sure that I incorporate my personal interests. And so if I have 4 content pillars, I really try to focus all of the content that I share on those 4 content pillars and really try to split up my content so that it's an even mix of those 4 pillars. So speaking of sharing content, why is it important to share content? And sharing content is something that is very important when it comes to building your personal brand, especially if you want to have influence with people and you want to build relationships and care about what you have to add. You can move on to the next one. And one of the most common questions is that I always get is all around, well, how do you find content that you want to share? And one of the best ways that I've been able to find content, especially around my content pillars, is to use a tool like EveryoneSocial. So you can put in RSS feeds and Twitter accounts and different sources for your content. So you can really help curate that content for you using a tool like EveryoneSocial. And so it makes scheduling your content in advance and makes sure that you're able to actually balance your content pillars by adding in different sources and different streams, etc. So curating your content ahead of time makes it very, very easy, and then scheduling content to share throughout the day is great. But then it's all about making sure that you're reading and you're only sharing what you're interested in and sharing what you find valuable. We have a saying here at Adobe that with our employee advocacy program, we are not in this to create an army of Adobe bots, which is absolutely the truth. We do not want to create an army of Adobe bots, and our employee advocacy program is very much dedicated to helping people build their personal brands and only sharing Adobe content that they're interested in. So I always like to kind of put my content through a couple tests and make sure that, hey, is my audience going to be interested in this? Is this different? And am I sharing my own perspective? Go ahead. The next step is to choose the right social platforms, and social platforms can be used in different ways to manage different kinds of expectations. But first, it's important to kind of understand why people do share content, and then think about the different platforms that might apply best to the types of content that you're sharing. So people share content in kind of 5 primary ways, or for 5 primary reasons. One, for entertainment. We want to be funny. We want to entertain our audience. We want to, share something that we think is cute. I don't know about you, but especially on my Facebook page or my Facebook account, the news feed is just full of puppy photos and cat pictures and videos of stuff that people find entertaining. Another reason that people share content is to define ourselves. So again, thinking about our content pillars, who we are, what we want to be known for, we can share content to really show the world who we are and define the type of person we want to be, really create and craft that persona. The third reason is all about relationships. So we share content to build relationships with other people. We, retweet content from friends or from family to show our support. We share posts that are written. We share, cool things that our friends are doing to show our support and to really build those relationships. The fourth reason, again, is all about self-fulfillment. So we want to make sure that we feel good about who we are and where we're going, and that we're promoting the cool things that we're doing. We get a lot of good feedback. I know that, whenever I write an article, it always feels great after I tweet it, when somebody retweets it or when somebody likes the tweet. It's all about kind of that self-fulfillment aspect of it as well. And then finally, to support a cause, to show their support for a particular cause. We won't get into this, obviously, in the webinar, but a lot of people go to social media to talk about politics. Doing so in a respectful way is a good way to show support for particular causes, for charities that you might be involved in, for different parts of the world that you are passionate about. And once you start thinking about the reasons why you're sharing content and the types of content that you do want to share, it's important to choose the right channel. So the 4 primary channels that we focus on in personal branding are LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And for me, personally, I use LinkedIn very professionally. So I don't really share any personal information or personal news. I don't really share anything from my personal blog, but I will share any third-party kind of thought leadership articles that have to do with my role, or any articles that I've written that are tied to my business objectives, like employee advocacy or any of my Forbes pieces, etc. For Facebook I use primarily personally, but it's important that we understand that there are blurred lines between personal and professional online. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But I am connected to colleagues that have become friends on Facebook as well. So I'm always still very conscious of what I post on Facebook. But Facebook is definitely more for the fun stuff. It's more for the cat videos or the funny things that I read on the internet and some of the more personal content that I want to share. Twitter, for me personally, is very much a blend. As Chris showed in just those couple examples of my Twitter account, I try to post an even amount about Adobe, about industry news, about all of those content pillars. So Twitter is really where I focus a lot on those content pillars and on the different types of content I want to share that all kind of make me who I am. And then Instagram, if you are a visual person and you like photography and you like taking photos or you want to share those photos, Instagram is a great place to represent yourself visually. And I love photography. I love the iPhone apps that are all available to edit your photos and really just kind of capture the different moments of my life. And so Instagram is public. I have my profile set up to public, so anyone both personally or professionally can follow me there. But I think Instagram has done a really good job of kind of making it more of a place for personal development or personal sharing, and less a little bit about that professional edge. Go ahead. Another thing that you can do is join niche communities. So communities that are a little bit smaller, that are a little bit more targeted and more specific to the things that you're interested in. And a great way for you to find some of those niche communities and why they're valuable is all for developing more of those meaningful conversations. So LinkedIn has a bunch of LinkedIn groups. Twitter has hashtags where you can kind of segment out and fragment out the conversation, hone in on what you're really focusing on, what you really want to talk about. And Facebook groups, which are often secret, are a really great way to interact with interesting people in your field. So there are a few that I'm really excited about that I participate in. LinkedIn has a few social media groups that I do enjoy participating in. One great benefit of participating in a LinkedIn group is that it actually broadens the number of people that you're able to connect with, because you can actually easily connect on LinkedIn with anybody that is a member of the same group. So it's a great way to kind of think about what you're interested in from a professional perspective and join groups, even if it's, to gain that information and participate in those meaningful conversations, but also have an opportunity to connect with people. In Facebook, I'm actually part of a couple groups that I really love. One is the Fempire group, and it's a secret group, and it is all about female entrepreneurs, it's basically just building the female empire. So it's a group of totally awesome women that talk about their successes, their failures, that are all really vulnerable in that Facebook group. And it's one of the most rewarding and most meaningful conversations that I have, on a daily basis with those ladies. I also am part of a social media masterminds group on Facebook that is basically just a bunch of brands, social media managers or social media folks that have done social media for either agencies or for brands. And that's another really valuable conversation and meaningful conversation, because it's working with practitioners and peers just like you, and you can gain a lot of great insights from doing that as well. So a third challenge is all about adding value and not just adding more noise to the social media conversation. So thinking about how you can offer something new or fresh or different and not just adding to the clutter that is social media. And there are a few different ways that you can add value to industry discussions. And the first is all about balancing your professional and personal identities. So I know I talked about this just a minute ago about how the lines between personal and professional are very blurred online. And there's a balance. One of the top questions that I always get in any of my trainings are, well, should I have 2 Twitter accounts? Should I have a professional account and a personal account? And my answer is always no. You are one person. You really are that one personality, and you should really add value. What is valuable is that personal perspective and making sure that you're balancing those professional and personal identities. If someone is always talking about work online, I am definitely going to unfollow them. But if they also talk about their kids and their dogs and the hikes that they're going on and the vacations, and then also what they're working on, that's a human. And I'm much more interested in staying connected and valuing what they have to say. Adding your perspective to what you're sharing is also really important. So I see this all the time where people just share straight up headlines. They see an article that they like and they just share it, and they just share the specific headline. And I always kind of look at those and I'm like, well, great, thanks for sharing this article, but I can curate my own content in that way. What I'm most interested in is hearing your perspective. Why did you find that interesting? Why do you like it? Why should I read it? What should I do with that piece of content? Adding your perspective, I think there are some examples in just a minute here. Adding your perspective really kind of, again, humanizes you and humanizes what people want to get from the content that you're sharing. So these are a few Adobe examples. Matt Rosen is all funny. I'm literally going to Adobe Max because of Keegan. Yes, I'll be working, but they could fire me and I'd still go. So again, it's adding a little bit of personality. He's funny, he's a fun guy, but he's also talking about how cool the speakers are at Adobe Max this year. Esther's mind was blown with Creative's Cloud Spring updates that include virtual reality support, which is awesome. So even if it's just as simple as like, oh my gosh, this is super cool, or mind blown, can add a little bit of flavor and add a little bit of personality. Elaine, again, talking or shared an Inc. article. She used a done list that helped her productivity, and it's definitely how she tracked progress that week. So she's kind of vouching for that, and it's giving a little bit more flavor and a little bit more personality to the content. Step 3 is about balancing self-promotion with content that your audience cares about, and that's not necessarily to say that your audience doesn't care about your self-promotion, but it's also making sure that we're being very careful to not use social media as a megaphone. It is absolutely a two-way conversation, which we'll talk about in just a moment, but it's also very important that you're not just talking about me online, what you had for lunch, what you're doing today, where you're going on vacation, that it's much more about showing support, it's about building relationships, and it's balancing that content with other content that you think your audience cares about. As I mentioned, communication goes both ways. Social media is not a megaphone for you to blast out your messages. It is very important to treat social media as a way to communicate and a way to build relationships and a way to engage. So one of the things that I always teach is that 80% of the time that you spend on social media should be spent engaging, and only 20% should be content sharing. It's very easy to get into just a cycle of sharing content and blasting your audience with new content every day, multiple times a day. But how are you showing your support? Are you liking other people's content? Are you retweeting it? Are you sharing it? Are you commenting on it? Are you adding to the discussion? Also, remembering the golden rule. If we want people to interact and engage with our content and talk with us, we need to do the same to them and for their content. And that is all. I think we have plenty of time for some questions.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lauren and Chris. That was really great. If any of you have any questions for Chris or Lauren or want to know more about personal branding, go to the questions section of your GoToWebinar. There'll be a little place there where you can type in a question and we'll make sure to address it. One question I know that we get a lot is, how do I know what's okay to share? And Lauren talked about this a bit, and I just wanted to kind of elaborate on that as you guys are writing in your questions. I saw a TED Talk recently where a news anchor said that how she knows what to tweet or talk about on social is she puts it through the executive test. Would I be okay saying this out loud to the CEO of the company I work for? So just kind of another way to keep your personal brand, keep it personalized, and also while also making sure it stays professional, which is exactly what we've been talking about. So we'll give a few moments just to have those questions come in. Thanks so much, Chris and Lauren. It was really, really great, very informative. I think we learned a lot about personal branding, and we'll just give it a second to marinate. Also, I do want to let you know we will have the slides and the recording available for anyone who would like them afterwards. I will be sending out an email this afternoon. All right, it doesn't look like we have any questions. We just have a bunch of thank yous. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed it very much. And we will definitely talk to you on the next webinar. Thank you guys so much. And thanks for all of your thank yous. I'm so appreciative. And thank you so much for attending. All right, we will see you on the next one. Have an awesome Wednesday.